What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. I heard you speak on why Kelly Oubre has been very smart with his reads on screen and rolls and getting open dunks when it says in his tags the roller, but I'm assuming he means when the roller is tagged. If this is the case, why was he just not a good fit in Golden State? My impression was that he just wasn't good enough at the free-flowing read and react type of offense and couldn't figure out how to gel well enough with Steph Curry. So I agree, but this is a classic example of the difference between a 4-out offense and a 5-out offense. So, for instance, if you are in a situation where you are spotting up in the corner and they're running two-man game, and you are watching your low man, right? So the guy who's guarding you is now the low man. So if I'm in the corner, ball screen's on the opposite wing, the guy who's guarding me, his job is, if there's anything that happens to where the pick and roll gets compromised, meaning like the roll man gets behind the screen defender, maybe the guard starts to get downhill, or maybe it's a blitz and the ball gets to the short roll guy, he has to step up and basically be the guy who defends whoever it is that's coming down the lane. And so you are now making a very simple read as the guy in the corner, right? If he doesn't go very far, you want to stay in the corner to space. But if he steps up and leaves a vacancy, like kind of a runway for you, that's when you want to cut along the baseline. That's a simple read. That is not as complicated as some of the more complicated reads that Kelly Oubre had to make in Golden State's 5-out offense. And specifically for Golden State, they were a big believer in, like, even when you're open, you don't shoot, you turn and run a DHO for one of their shooters, right? Like Gary Payton's a great example of this. Like the dude will take, if he's just standing wide open, he'll take a shot. But if he catches and he's not in a great position to shoot, and I mean a great position to shoot, he's turning and flowing into a DHO, right? And like so much of there's more high level cutting in the Golden State offense from different spots on the floor. And so again, like those are examples of him improving, making reads within that specific role, operating out of the corner as a spacer, but it's not the same as some of the more, like, because no team in the league runs more action, and I mean literally runs sets out of 5-out than Golden State does. They are as structured an offense as you'll find in the league. Next question. What are your thoughts on Bam's recent three-point attempt streak? Is it sustainable? Why is it taking so long? So in the last 4 games, Bam Adebayo is 5 for 5 from 3, including a game winner against the Detroit Pistons, a bomb from about 25 feet at the top of the key. Here's the thing. I don't think Bam needs a three-point shot. And obviously, if you can make it at a high percentage, you want to take it just from the standpoint of shot value. But for me, Bam is in a very similar situation to Giannis. He primarily functions with his athleticism as a cog in their offense. It's different than Giannis because Giannis operates more, kind of on an island trying to attack and score. But what I mean by that is, like, I don't think Giannis needs a three-point shot. I think he needs to be able to make shots over contests around the rim. And I mean, like, before the rim. So like little push shots, floaters, half hooks, short jump shots, things like that matter more to Giannis. That's how I feel about Bam. Great that he made 5 threes, but he misses like half of his shot attempts that aren't dunks within 8 feet of the rim. So like, that's the real problem. Like, it's more, can you make the floater? Can you make the pop shot in the lane? Can you make the short jump shot or the little hook shot over the defense? Obviously the 3-point shot going in over the last 4 games is good. It's not like it's a bad thing, but like that's not the difference between Bam reaching where he is now and reaching his ultimate potential. To me, he's got to become a guy who can hit 65% of his non-dunks around the rim, and he's just not there right now, and that's where he's holding himself back offensively. I've never heard of a 10th seeded team getting exposed. We knew they sucked. This was after the Warriors lost to the Knicks. Just going to take another example opportunity to talk really quickly about how the Warriors and Lakers are better than their record. The Warriors are 23-16 when both Draymond Green and Steph Curry play. That's a win percentage that if for the whole year they stayed at that level, they would pass the Lakers in the standings, they'd pass the Suns in the standings, they'd pass the Mavericks in the standings, they'd pass the Kings in the standings, they'd be out of the play-in, they'd be at the 6th seed right now. That's even with everything that's gone wrong this year, if they just had the winning percentage when Steph and Draymond are on the floor together. The Lakers and the Warriors are not on the upper tier. They are not as good as Denver. They're not as good as Boston. I don't even think they're as good as a healthy Minnesota team necessarily. I would be tempted to pick teams like the Bucks and the Clippers over them, but everyone else, every other team in that group, whether it's the Knicks, whether it's the Sixers when they're healthy, whether it's the Suns or the Kings or the Pelicans or the Thunder, or like all those teams, I think the Warriors and the Lakers are just as good as them. It's all those teams. It's about matchups, right? Like the Kings just did a number on the Bucks and Lakers and then lost at home the other night. I'm blanking on who they actually lost to in that game, but everybody can lose to anybody on any given night. That's not a. I think was it the Knicks? I think it was the Knicks. But that group is very matchup oriented. Anybody can beat anybody. It's just like if your weakness aligns with another team's strength, you'll lose in that matchup, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily a worse team because that team's strength might match up differently with another team's strength and weakness, and they might lose that matchup, right? The Lakers and the Warriors are way down in the standings. The Warriors because Draymond Green missed a significant chunk of the season, and the Lakers because they went 3-10 after winning the in-season tournament, which dug them a massive hole in the standings. Outside of the times that Draymond missed, the Warriors have been really good. Outside of that 3-10 stretch after the in-season tournament, the Lakers have been really good. They are better than their records. They are not top-tier contenders. They're not even second-tier contenders, but they're every bit as good as those other teams in those tiers. And if you think just because they're a 9 seed or a 10 seed, that's an accurate representation of how much talent they have on the roster, I think I would disagree with you at that point. Last question. This was in response to the LeBron MJ topic we had at the end of the show yesterday. A hair over LeBron. I said MJ was a hair over LeBron. If you check the criteria for the GOAT of any sport, it's all about dominating the sport for a long enough period of time while winning championships in a dominating fashion. Any case for LeBron James has to do with his longevity in dominating a conference and not the league. His underwhelming finals record speaks to that. Playing longer doesn't make you better unless we are just speaking to the best athlete. Couple things. I technically lean more towards dominating over longevity personally as well. That's why I have MJ hair over LeBron. But a couple of things. First of all, LeBron James dominating the Eastern Conference, I agree with you. It's an overrated kind of thing to talk about, right? Like he has 10 conference championships, 9 of which took place in the Eastern Conference. That's certainly impressive. But yeah, the Eastern Conference was weak more at the top. Like the Eastern Conference is weak now in a different way than it is back in LeBron's era. Like now the East is weak at the bottom, but there are still really good teams at the top every single year, usually 2 or 3 like really good teams. In LeBron's East, there just never was a team remotely as good as them. And so they kicked everyone's ass in the postseason every single year because the best team they'd face would be a Pacers team with Paul George or a Raptors team with DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. But every time we have this conversation, we gloss over a simple fact. LeBron James has won 4 NBA championships. So forget about the damn conference titles all you want. He has 4 damn championships. Since he came in the league, no player or franchise has won more championships than LeBron. That is a certain level of dominance in its own way. And so, you're right. The conference championship thing is a little bit overblown. Yes, LeBron played in the East, and then he still hoisted the damn Larry O'Brien trophy 4 times, despite a lot of things that worked against him over that span, like the Cavs originally never putting a championship-level roster around him in his first stretch there in Cleveland, like the Kyrie fiasco in 2018, like Anthony Davis's injury history and immediate decline after the 2020 playoff run. Like if I told you after LeBron convinced AD to come over in the summer of 2019, if I told you, hey, LeBron's going to be really good for all 5 of the next 5 years, you'd be like, okay, they're winning multiple titles. But no, AD had a significant injury stretch and declined as significantly as a player. Went from being a guy who was in contention for the best player in the world to a guy who's a fringe top 10 guy now. Right. And like that is despite all of that, he still hoisted the trophy 4 times. And so again, when we're talking about LeBron's dominance, he's not as dominant as MJ, but he's still pretty damn dominant. I didn't even talk about in that stretch, like literally after LeBron won his 3rd title, the two best players beneath him in the league teamed up. He's the best player in the league. He won his third title, just beat a 73-win team, had back-to-back 40-plus point games in the finals, had a stranglehold on the best player in the world title, and then Kevin Durant and Steph Curry teamed up on a team that already had one of the best coaches in the league, the best defender in the league in Draymond Green, the best wing defender in the league in Andre Iguodala, the second best shooter in the league who's also an excellent perimeter defender in Klay Thompson. All of that, plus the two players in the league that were right behind LeBron. And he still hoisted the trophy 4 times. So again, I think when we're talking about LeBron James dominance, it's important to view it as different than MJ, but it's not a lack of accomplishment. Think about the way Larry Bird is revered. He only has 3 of them, right? It's not. I think that LeBron's dominance has actually become a little underrated in that regard. Lastly, his playing longer doesn't make you better unless we are just speaking to the best athlete. This I just fundamentally disagree with. Obviously, dominance is the larger factor, as I talked about, but I do think longevity really matters. And the reason why is simple. If I was talking about who the best basketball player ever was, I look at it from the perspective of if I owned a franchise and I had to start from scratch and I could only pick one player in NBA history to start with and I could have their entire career, which player gives me the most opportunity to win the most championships in a vacuum? And if I get 20 years of LeBron James playing at a top 10 level, during which I go 9 years from 2012 to 2020, I thought he was clearly the best player in the world. So for a 9-year stretch there, he was literally number 1. So I'm getting 9 years of number 1 and an additional 11 years of top 10. And then that first year, but LeBron was still top 20. So with that being my kind of foundation for bringing in a star player to start my franchise, I have a really good chance to win. And so that's why I look at longevity as also a significant part of the case, because you want to see what ceiling the guy can reach, but how long he stays there is a big indicator. Because again, in the NBA, a lot of shit can go down. Matchups can be weird. Injuries can happen. Sometimes even though you are in a good position to win the title, just bad things happen and you don't. 2015, another title, LeBron probably wins if his team is healthy. I believe a healthy Kyrie and Kevin Love with LeBron James beat the Warriors in 2015. That's trophy number 5. Again, anything can happen. And so that's why getting more cracks at the table, more, pulls at the slot machine, so to speak, give you more opportunities to win. And that's why longevity matters.